Hi, this is Tinsley Ellis, and you're listening to Icon Fetch.
Welcome to Icon Fetch, the web's premier music interview show. Now, here's your host, Tony Peters.
Now, he's been called the Godfather of the blues. John Mayall is into his 8th decade and yet is showing no signs of slowing down. His band has been a proving ground for some of the greatest musicians of all time. Guitar players like Eric Clapton, Peter Green, Mick Taylor, and Sonny Landreth, just to name a few. Now, his brand new record is called Talk About That, and it's a diverse affair, kind of summing up the many twists and turns of his career. And out of the 11 tracks, 8 of them are recent songs composed by Mayall.
But I don't care a damn thing about that. You can say what you think about. Talk about that. Yeah, talk about that.
And to talk about the new disc, we welcome in John Mayall. How are you, man?
I'm very good, and it's a nice speech to introduce me.
Well, thank you. And, you know, this new record here, Talk About That, it's very diverse. You got a lot of different styles going on here. When you're putting a record like this together, is there like a conscious effort to make sure things are diverse, or does it just kind of happen organically like that?
No, it's definitely intentional, because I don't believe that you should put a record on and one song should sound like the next one and everything. So there's many different feels and moods and subject matter that I can come up with. I think this makes a good package for everybody to listen to.
No, absolutely. And you once again work with Eric Korn, and you recorded it at the House of Blues. You guys have been working on this, several albums you've put out in a row. What is it about Eric that kind of helps make this process better?
Well, Eric's a one-man operation. He's the owner of the label, and he's also the engineer. And we get on great together, and it's wonderful to work with a smaller label, whether you're not dealing with a giant corporation, which always gets in the way of things. So it's a very happy relationship, and long may it continue.
Right, absolutely. Now the disc opens with Talk About That. It's got kind of a heavy funk feel to it. Now, if we talk about this song specifically, is that something where, because the lyrics seem autobiographical.
Life hasn't always been easy. I had many ups and downs. So many situations. Some ran into the ground.
Did you get the lyrics first for that, and then kind of put the music to it, or what?
Well, I think it's usually the mood of the story dictates the style of the music that should represent it, and then you tell the story to go along with the musical attitude. So that's always been the way. So I think both of those factors should run hand in hand.
I see. Okay, and we talked about at the open about how diverse the disc is, and definitely one of them is Give Me Some of That Gumbo. It's definitely got a New Orleans feel to it.
Give me some of that gumbo. Knock on your back door. Some of that gumbo. You gotta kick all the songs.
There's something down in the water in there, I think, huh?
Well, it's definitely an attempt to do a New Orleans style thing, and it was really great to utilize the horns on that one, because they gave it a kind of a street scene, with the trombones and the little musical asides and little yelps here and there. So it has very much of that New Orleans street vibe about it. So very happy with that one.
Right, and you wrote a lot of the songs on the disc, but it's hard going up, but twice as hard going down is one you didn't write.
Yes, it's hard going up, but twice as hard coming down. You got to pass the same people on your way to your home in the ground.
Why don't you tell me how you found out about that one?
Well, I actually recorded that one on an earlier album in the 70s, one of those albums that didn't do so well, so I figured it's time to bring that one back into focus, So it was another great opportunity to use the horns on that one. But like I say, I did record that one in the 70s on an album that didn't reach the kind of attention that it should have gotten. So, that's one of those things where, I bring out a song that I have recorded before and think I can bring a new feel to it.
Right, absolutely. One of my favorite tracks from the record is Blue Midnight. It's got a real soulful quality.
So hard to stop you yesterday. Now all that I can do is keep on hoping you'll come back to me one day.
Is there anything you can tell me about the making of that one?
I don't know really how to explain that one. It just represents the way we work together. It has that right infectious sort of feel to it, and it's not an unfamiliar groove for us to play, so it just happened very easily, that one.
Right. And you've got a surprise guest on this record. A couple of the tracks on the album, you get Joe Walsh, great guitar player in his own right, on here.
That old devil is laughing with a big smile on his face. We're losing battles and endless wars that have no place.
How did that all come about, getting Joe on the record?
Well, it was a big surprise to me because I didn't know Joe, and I didn't even know very much about his work other than his work with the Eagles and various other people. And I was very surprised that he came out of the woodwork, so to speak, and got on the phone to the people who owned the House of Blues studio and said he wanted to come down and play a couple of tunes add his work to a couple of my songs. So that's how that came about. And he was only in the studio for about 2 hours. He just heard the feel of the song, and we recorded it live all in one take, and then he was off back home.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of
great,
kind of in and out kind of thing. But so he actually was on a couple of the tracks. "Devil Must Be Laughing" was one of them, and then "Cards on the Table." Yeah.
I got to put my cards on the table. I got to tell you how I feel. Maybe you thought that I'd forget you. An old picture in a magazine. But I'm here on your street, and I'm hoping to meet to show you I'm the one for you.
Yeah, and I mean, he's known as quite a great slide guitar player for sure. So you got a kind of chance to see that firsthand. So.
Absolutely, yes. It was very, very, very. It was a wonderful experience having him come down. And like I say, you don't very often get stars in the rock world coming down and saying that they like what I do. So it was a big, very nice surprise.
Right. If I talk about a couple of the other tracks here, "Across the County Line" gives you a chance to blow on the harmonica, and this is also credited to the entire band.
Going down across the county line, where all the people have a rocking good time. Guns blazing and the fire outside. Come on, people, get yourself a ride. Crazy people jumping up and down. Everybody rocking out to that sound.
Yeah, this was one of the things I like to give them a shot so they get a piece of the publishing on an album that I do. So I asked them to come up with a kind of a riff or something that the feel of it, So when they came up with that one, I just put words to it and put my own my own keyboards onto it, and it was another one that just felt natural.
Right. And the record ends off with "You Never Know." It's got kind of, I don't know, like moody late night kind of thing going on.
You never know how your life is gonna be, full of tangles and uncertainty. Questions without answers. What's to become of me?
But what can you tell me about that?
Well, it was one of those things where, Eric Korn wanted to have me do an old-time blues piano thing, so, that's what I started off doing anyway, so it was very easy for me to just sit down at the piano and just knock that one out. So it's another nice contrast on the album.
Sure, absolutely. Now, this is what's amazing is out of the 11 songs on the record, 8 of them are ones you've composed, and it's like, with this, how do you keep the creative juices flowing when other people, like, it just seems to have kind of dried up kind of thing?
I have no idea. These, there's stories to be told all around you in anybody's life. And, music, fortunately, can tell these stories, the emotional connection and the rhythmic connection to the lyrics. And for me, it's never been any problem. I think I wrote the songs in a couple of days just before we went into the studio. I mean, we were only in the studio the band was there for 3 days, and the horns were there one day. And, the whole thing took 10 days from start to finish.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like, get in, get out, not labor on it too much, and because I think the more time you spend in the studio, the more time you can kind of mess it up, too, I think.
Yeah, I can't imagine how people take a year to make an album. I've never understood that.
It seems...
Some people take even longer. I think, what the hell do they do?
Right. Agreed. So, you always seem to tap into kind of what's going on, like the mood of the world, and The Devil Must Be Laughing seems to be rather appropriate for the time period we're in right now.
I had a nightmare dream. Scary and oh so long. Blood and murder, and the whole damn world went wrong. Then I woke up and read the papers, and the devil sang his song.
Yeah, I know it's getting worse, isn't it? So it's just one of those things. When I'm rounding up subject matter, it's always nice to just put a bit of social commentary in there as well that takes care of one of the songs.
Right. Now, I noticed also that you designed. You're listed as the designer of the album cover as well. And with these days, a lot of people, downloading MP3s or whatever, is the album cover kind of a lost art kind of thing?
I don't really know. Like I say, it's very useful for me because you can record the music, which represents the stories. But you also, I think, it's so important that the artwork also should reflect the energy or whatever of the content of the album is. So, was my training until I was 30 years old. I was, a studio manager and an art direction. So, it's very easy for me to put that together.
Right. And I actually just got word from Mark Prucci. He emailed me and said that Talk About That is coming out on vinyl on February 17th. So it's pretty amazing to see the resurgence in that. I mean, people are actually going out and buying records again, kind of thing.
I know, it's beautiful. I just got a couple of days ago the LP, and it's in the size as it is, it really looks magnificent. So apart from the sound quality that people know more about it than I do, it's nice to have something that you can hold in your hand that's that. I don't know. It's just very exciting.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think to actually, rather than have something that, I mean, you can't really. Can you touch an MP3? I don't know. I mean, it's like it's just. I like the physical stuff, man.
That's in the sonic wilderness. We don't know anything about that.
Exactly. Right. I prefer the physical stuff in my hand. Let me hold it in my hand, kind of thing. So,
exactly. Yeah.
So, you've gone through kind of right after the recording of this album, you've kind of gone through a little bit of a lineup change. I mean, you've had this same band, the same quartet of people for quite a while, but it kind of Mother Nature kind of played a role in all this. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. Rocky unfortunately couldn't make one of the festival gigs that we had. because there was problems with Dallas airport, and all the planes were grounded. But so he couldn't make the thing, so we had to go on stage, and there was just the three of us. And we had actually done that before, played another gig before as the three of us, and it just sparked off a new element that I wanted to explore. And, so Rocky, of course, he has his own career going for him, so he totally understood when I decided that we want to now go forth as a trio, and it's worked out very well in the last several months. I think we've done probably more gigs in that lineup than most rock bands do on their tours. So anyway, it's worked out very well, and we're off to Europe now for a marathon tour in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I imagine having just three pieces, there's a lot more space in which, for all three of you to kind of play off of each other, I'd imagine. Yeah,
there's a lot more interplay, and of course, without a guitar player, with the guitar naturally being a loud instrument, it brings a lot more light and shade to it, and we're finding all sorts of different ways to interpret the songs.
And you mentioned that you're about ready to partake in a long, mammoth European tour. I mean, I'm looking on your website, johnmayall.com, and I'm counting. There's got to be 50 dates, and we're not even to May. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, we've got 130 shows booked for this year. So
wow, that's fantastic.
It finishes off in Europe with another extensive British tour. And there'll be all festivals in the summer, I suppose, and anything else that comes up. I haven't had a chance to keep track of it all, but, we like to work hard.
Well, and with the blues, I mean, you're traveling all over the world. Have you found that blues fans are the same all over the world, or is there a particular country that you kind of look forward to thinking, well, those guys are particularly rabid about the blues?
I think from my point of view, there's no difference really. I think if people book me to play it in a situation, whichever country it is, those are that's the fan base who come out and of course they bring people who haven't heard me before, and it introduces me to a younger set of audience. So it's a constantly shifting thing, but fortunately. The blues is not really dependent, in my case, on hit records, which I've never had. So it's a faithful following who love the music.
Right. Now, we talked about the new record, and it'll be coming out on vinyl as well. I know you've also done archival stuff where you've, released stuff from your private archives and that kind of thing. Is there anything on the horizon for any more archival releases?
I haven't got anything at all that I could think was worthwhile. But it was very fortunate that I was able to get a hold of these Peter Green, John McVie, Mick Fleetwood tapes and get those released to the public, because it's a mind-blowing period of club work, and Peter Green is just at his very peak at that time. So I'm very happy that the public can now share those memories. Right.
And actually, when we had you on the show, those were just available on CD, but now I understand those have also been put on vinyl, right?
Yep, it's amazing. They're there in all their glory.
That's great. So the best way for people to stay on top of the tour dates and order the CD and all that, johnmayall.com is the best way for everybody to get that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very extensive website, and we try and make it as interesting as possible. But there's a mine of information there. People can read all sorts of stuff going on in it. So I like to think that it's another way to reach people and keep them up to date with what we're doing.
Right, and I mean, it looks like people can even leave messages and you'll answer them, kind of thing. That's pretty great.
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Keep they keep a very careful touch on everything.
Right. Now, I got one more question. When a lot of people that are your age have, like, slowed down or, some of the people have passed away or whatever, and you just told me 130 dates is insane. I mean, what is the key to keeping you so active and that kind of thing?
Well, I don't know. I just happen to be lucky enough to be in good health, I suppose. That's the best way I can explain it. So I don't smoke cigarettes. I've never done any kind of drugs, and I had a brief period of a few years of drinking, but that's 25 years ago. So I just keep healthy and keep the energy going.
Fantastic. And staying active is part of it. Touring 130 dates, that's going to keep you active for sure.
It's so easy, because there's so few of us, and the fact that we don't have it's a different set list every night, not like the big groups who have to play the same things every night. That must get totally tiresome. But for us, it's a new show every night, so it's really wonderful.
And is there any plans to come back to the States after you're done in Europe, or?
Well, usually festivals start cropping up in the summertime, in the middle of the year, so it's hard to forecast, but these things do happen.
Okay, all right, great. Well, it's been great talking to you. The new CD from John Mayall is called "Talk About That," and we appreciate you talking to us. All right.
Well, we keep saying talk. That was the whole idea of putting that title on the album so that people will talk about that.
Right, exactly. It's always a pleasure to talk to John Mayall at 83 years old, still kicking, and 130 shows in this year. It's just unbelievable. I mean, there are guys half his age that aren't doing that. So great new CD from him. Talk about that. Now, coming up, one of the guests that we'll be having on our show has ties to John Mayall. Now, great guitar player Walter Trout. He spent some time in John Mayall's band. Now, Walter's wife, Marie Trout, has just put out a really interesting book. It's called The Blues, Why It Still Hurts So Good. And what Marie has done as being Walter Trout's wife, she's had a chance to observe things from the side of the stage and that kind of stuff. And so she really wanted to put together a book about what is it about blues music that keeps people coming back. She actually surveyed over 1,000 blues fans on things like, what is it about the blues that people say it has healing powers? And what is it about the fact that even though a lot of the blues music is sad, people leave a blues concert really happy? Interesting stuff. We'll be talking to Marie Trout about her new book on the blues.
You've been listening to Icon Fetch with Tony Peters. Want more great interviews? Head over to iconfetch.com. There, you'll find every interview we've ever done, plus CD reviews, This Day in Music, and a random album of the day. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Who is Tony going to interview next? It could be you. Send what you've got to Tony Peters. Icon Fetch, P.O. Box 292134, Dayton, Ohio 45429. Or email Tony at host@iconfetch.com. Until next time, this is Joe Kelly. Have a great day.